The rain poured relentlessly over the city of Seattle that night, blurring the glowing hospital lights into a mosaic of sorrow and hope. Inside, a young woman lay on a stretcher, her breath shallow, her heartbeat faint but steady, a fragile rhythm holding on between life and goodbye. Her name was Emily Carter, a 27-year-old artist whose laughter once filled every corner of her small apartment and whose compassion touched every life she crossed. But now, as machines beeped softly around her, Emily's life was slipping away. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love that lives beyond death, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support keeps stories of hope alive for others who need them most. Emily's story began not in tragedy, but in love. She was a mural artist, painting city walls with color and meaning, often volunteering her time to brighten children's hospitals. Her favorite piece was a large heart painted outside the local transplant center, a symbol of renewal and gratitude. She often said, "Art is how I keep hearts beating, even when mine feels tired." And though she smiled every day, Emily had been silently fighting a rare heart condition since she was a teenager. She'd spent years in and out of hospitals, defying odds with grace. But one stormy evening, her weakened heart finally gave out as she was returning home from her studio. Her parents, Linda and George Carter, faced the unbearable, the loss of their only daughter. Emily had already made her decision long before this night. Her organ donor card was signed in bold, confident ink. "If I can't live, maybe someone else can," she had written in her journal. When the doctor asked her grieving parents if they would honor Emily's wish, Linda clutched her chest, tears streaming, and whispered, "She always gave her heart, even now." Miles away, another family waited in the same hospital, caught in the cruel limbo between life and loss. Mark Anderson, a 33-year-old firefighter, had been battling a failing heart for over a year. Once a symbol of strength and bravery, Mark now lay weak, his body too fragile for the hero he used to be. He had risked his life saving others during a building collapse, inhaling smoke that led to a series of complications. Now, he needed a heart transplant urgently, or his time would run out. His wife, Rachel, and their 5-year-old son, Ethan, never left his side. When the call came, "A donor heart is available," Rachel fell to her knees, crying out in disbelief. In another part of the hospital, Emily's parents were saying goodbye, while Mark's family was whispering prayers of thanks. Two stories, one ending and one beginning, were silently woven together that night. The surgery lasted hours, and when Mark finally woke up, the beeping machine beside him matched the rhythm of a new heart, Emily's heart. He didn't know whose it was, but he felt something powerful, something strangely peaceful. "It's like there's warmth inside me," he told his wife, placing a hand over his chest. "Like someone's watching over me." Months passed. Mark's recovery was slow but miraculous. He began walking again, spending time outdoors, and even painting with Ethan to rebuild strength in his hands. But something unusual started happening. Dreams, vivid, recurring dreams of a young woman painting a giant red heart on a brick wall, smiling with streaks of color on her face. Each dream ended with her whispering, "Keep my heart alive." He couldn't explain it. He didn't know her. Yet every time he closed his eyes, he saw that mural. One day, determined to make sense of it, Mark went for a walk near the city's art district. That's when he saw it. The same mural from his dreams, the same heart painted with the same shades, and at the bottom corner, written in small white letters, Emily Carter, 1998 to 2025. He froze. His breath caught. For a long moment, it felt as if his heartbeat stopped. Altogether, the name pulsed through his mind like a whisper he had always known. Standing there, he felt tears rise without understanding why. He traced his hand along the painted heart and whispered, "Thank you." Curiosity turned into need. Mark began learning everything he could about Emily Carter. He visited her art exhibits, met people she'd touched, and even found her parents' address. But he hesitated to reach out. How do you tell someone that their daughter's heart beats inside your chest? Months went by before fate intervened again. A local charity organized a memorial art fair to honor donors who had given life through organ transplants. Mark and Rachel attended, not realizing it was dedicated to Emily's legacy. On a stage surrounded by vibrant paintings, Linda Carter spoke about her daughter, her voice trembling but proud. Emily believed that love doesn't end. It simply finds a new home. Somewhere, her heart is still painting joy into the world. Mark couldn't hold it in anymore. After the ceremony, he approached Linda and George with his hand pressed over his chest. "Mrs. Carter, I think your daughter's heart is the one keeping me alive." The air around them went still. Linda stared at him, eyes wide, trembling. Slowly she reached out and touched his chest, feeling the steady beat beneath his shirt. Tears spilled down her cheeks. That's Emily," she whispered. "That's my baby's heartbeat." They cried together, strangers bound by the most intimate connection possible. In that moment, it didn't feel like loss anymore. It felt like Emily was there, bridging two worlds through the rhythm of love. After that day, Mark and the Carters stayed in touch. They became family in a way that defied explanation. Linda often said that meeting Mark healed a part of her she thought was gone forever. She would bake cookies for Ethan and tell him stories about the artist who saved his daddy. And every year on Emily's birthday, they all gathered at her mural, adding a new stroke of color to keep her art and her spirit alive. But one evening, something happened that Mark could never forget. He was sitting alone in his studio, painting for the first time since before his illness. Without realizing it, his hands began forming shapes and colors that looked strangely familiar, the same flowing heart Emily used to paint. Rachel watched silently from the doorway, tears in her eyes. "You're painting just like her," she whispered. Mark smiled faintly. "No," he said softly, "she's painting through me." From that night on, Mark dedicated his art to donor awareness, speaking at hospitals and schools. He shared Emily's story everywhere he went, always saying, "I don't just live because of her heart, I live to honor it." His voice, filled with emotion, reached people who had never known the power of giving until they heard him speak. Years later, when Ethan turned 10, he asked Mark to take him to the mural again. Together, they stood under the painted heart as the sun dipped behind the skyline. Ethan placed a single white flower at its base and said, "Thank you for saving my dad." Mark looked up at the sky, feeling the familiar warmth in his chest, and whispered, "Thank you, Emily, for everything." And somewhere, in a place beyond words, maybe Emily smiled, because her heart never stopped doing what it was made for, giving life, spreading love, and reminding the world that even in endings, there can be beginnings. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Every act of kindness helps keep stories of hope and courage alive for others. Special request, comment below. Do you believe love can live on, even after death? Share your thoughts and let's keep Emily's message alive, because sometimes the heart that stops beating for one life begins again to change another forever.